Opportunity is found when nobody else is looking. Everybody buys artificial intelligence stocks now. Meanwhile, Aerodrome is going up. Nobody touches crypto, apparently. But where does this rally come from? And how much higher can we go? At the top, we've got the price. At the bottom, we've got the average volatility compared to a 30-day baseline. In other words, Aerodrome now becomes much more volatile. The price moves way quicker than usual. In fact, among all traded assets on the perpetual futures market, so the levered bets on the price, Aerodrome is currently the most volatile, relatively speaking. And so the question is, how much longer will this rally last? Is this just a pump and dump? Or are we going to continue? Let's have a look at the marginal demand versus marginal supply. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active altcoin trading. My track record is in the link down below. Over the last 2 years, I published my trades in real time as well. This here is the performance chart. The blue dotted part here, that's the currently open positions. And on average, I made 5% per trade, which comes to the annualized number of 47% when holding on average 6 trades at a time. Now I'm showing this because I want to be very transparent. This website, by the way, updates in real time. So you can always have a look at the closed positions. You can always see how those numbers change over time. I don't think that anybody else here in the crypto space has something similar set up. Now let's get back to Aerodrome. This here is the Aerodrome price measured in US dollars. And there seems to be a floor at around 30 cents. And this here, that's our recent outperformance, the increase in volatility. Relative to the rest of the altcoin market, we seem to be trading in a somewhat consistent range. Are we going to see another appreciation of 85% versus the rest of the altcoin market now? And how consistent would that be? Are we going to see some pumps and subsequent dumps along the way? Or what's currently driving this appreciation? Let's first look at the fundamentals, as in how much is Aerodrome currently being used. It's the leading decentralized exchange on the base chain. So that's a blockchain that's supported by Coinbase. Here is the total value locked. So the capital that's currently on Aerodrome. It peaked at the end of 2024 at 1.2 billion. Since then went down to 300 million. And that decline is not just due to crypto prices in general going down, because measured in Ethereum, the chart does not look much better. Here's the number of active addresses on Aerodrome over time. And here is the trading volume over time. Now this is actually encouraging. This is a trading volume measured in dollars, but measured in Ethereum, this tends to trend up. There are not a lot of projects where we tend to see more adoption measured in the base currency over time, but Aerodrome is one of them. There are two main reasons why the market is currently bullish on Aero. The first one is a potential boost in stablecoin settlements. The second is related to tokenized stocks. That's currently the growth engine of crypto. Many people in the crypto ecosystem want to buy various technology stocks, and platforms like Hyperliquid, so the largest decentralized finance protocol right now, they're already monetizing that traction. By the way, if you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, then feel free to also check out the account of this channel. I publish data points on various cryptocurrencies regularly over here. Make sure though that you follow the right account, so that's at BitcoinStrat. Make sure that you don't follow an imposter or a scammer account. Now what we've got over here, that's the Aerodrome price relative to the Bitcoin price. Again, we tend to have a floor that's around here, but this dotted line, that shows the average price over the entire history. And we're currently very close to this potential equilibrium price. When we draw the same line for Aerodrome relative to the altcoin market, there's still a bit of upside potential to that equilibrium. Roughly 10%. It's not much. If we were to hold Aerodrome beyond that, we are clearly betting on the momentum, not necessarily on a cheap valuation. The issue is that Aerodrome is also an inflating cryptocurrency, as in new supply hits the market. However, that inflation is coming down going forward. So probably the selling pressure that we have seen in the past that caused the long-term underperformance versus Bitcoin, that's going to ease. The retail appetite for Aerodrome tokens unfortunately also eased. It's not growing that much anymore. On the left side, we see the number of wallets on the base chain that hold at least 2,000 AERO tokens, so roughly $1,000 worth of the token. This grew up until October of last year. And since then, the number of retail investors is not going up anymore. In the middle, we've got 20,000 tokens. On the right, we've got 200,000 tokens. So a 10x with every chart. And it appears as if the smart money, the whales, the people with most capital, they are the most optimistic recently. The whales are still accumulating while the small retail investor has stopped. I see this as a positive sign because crypto is both a game of luck, but also of skill. And so the participants that have more capital on average, they also, at least on average, tend to make better calls. So they tend to be more skilled. If the skilled people are buying and the not so skilled people are not buying, that's as per tendency a good sign. The social numbers for Aerodrome are definitely down. Another reflection of how this is not anymore a retail driven token. This is the number of creators talking about Aerodrome over time, and here's the number of mentions of Aerodrome over time. Despite the tokenomics improving, the people that bet with leverage on Aerodrome tend to be not that optimistic, as in the funding rate tends to be negative most of the time. It costs money to bet on a falling Aerodrome price. If you're considering to buy Aerodrome, you might as well do so on the perpetual futures market, because then you also get the funding rate on top of that. Now, open interest or leverage in the asset is not yet at an all-time high. There is a strong correlation between the amounts of bets on the price, that's in green, and the price itself, right? When there's more leverage in the asset, the price tends to go down. When the leverage goes down, then the price tends to follow. There's a strong connection. Given that open interest is not yet at those very elevated prices, there's still a chance that we see further appreciation. There's clearly the possibility of a continuation of that current momentum, especially given that the supply growth in the next year is not that problematic. Now, as usual, I ran a backtest to find out the best trading rule for Aerodrome. Here's a summary of the best slow versus fast moving average combination. So the best golden and death cross this year is historically what worked the best, which, by the way, is the 42-day SMA versus the 62-day simple moving average. And so here is then how that looks like over time. When we get a death cross, we want to be betting on falling prices. When we get a golden cross, we want to be betting on rising prices. And that's the historical performance of that strategy. A very nice constant gain. Buying and holding Aerodrome would have given us 16% per annum. Using that particular strategy would have given us more than 300% per annum. The problem is that that chart does not look that great. We just got a death cross, which would imply that we should be betting on a falling price now. So the situation is clearly mixed. Measured in base cryptocurrency, so in Ethereum, the usage of Aerodrome is going up long term, while the token supply won't grow too much in the next year. The short-term leverage is elevated but could go up much higher. Yet we do have a bearish signal considering the momentum strategy that historically worked very well for Aerodrome. So I think it's best to work with tight stop losses here, no matter what the direction will be. If we see a breakout, then Aerodrome can easily go up another 50%. But if we don't continue with that current momentum and the death cross actually is a valid signal, then there is clear risk to the downside as well. And that should not be ignored. So yeah, I'm waiting until the situation for Aerodrome resolves. If you want to see what I'm currently trading, and feel free to check out the link down below. This is our situation right now. And again, you can just verify every single trade. For example, we opened here a short on Luna Classic, then subsequently closed that. There are dedicated messages in Telegram for every single trade. So for example here, right, we got our death cross for Luna Classic. That was a much shorter term moving average, so it was easier to make that trade. We then subsequently closed the trade once we got the golden cross. So those back-tested strategies tend to work quite well. That's how we are able to outperform the market long term, despite the bearish momentum in general. Most people got burnt and we made almost 50% per annum in the last 2 years. Now you can just manually copy trade if you don't have time, but you have more capital, then you can also consider the automatic copy trading that gave last year 44% annualized, and we are on the way to achieve the same again. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. Helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you on Premium. Link to that pops up here as well. See you next time. Cheers.